Good morning, folks. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now. So we are going live to Metro Hall, where the mayor and also Bill Moore, who is the president of the UPS Airlines, they're going to be giving us an update on the UPS plane crash that happened 2 weeks ago today. So this is a live look at the press conference. We know that a lot of people have been impacted by this. 14 people died in our community from this very tragic incident. So there's going to be some information that they're giving us about the update on the plane crash and also ways that folks can get some help.
You guys ready? Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Louisville Metro Hall. There's a lot going on across the city, and so today we're going to break our weekly press conference up into two sections. The first, we'll talk to some matters regarding the aftermath of the tragic plane crash that happened a few weeks ago and how we're moving forward as a community together. We'll break and take questions about anything related to that, and then we'll go on to the second part of this weekly press conference, which will talk about our agenda for the upcoming legislative session in Frankfurt in the General Assembly. In the days and weeks following tragic UPS plane crash flight 2976, it has been incredibly heartwarming to see the outpouring of support from every corner of our community, from really all across the country and all across the world. One new little tidbit of information that just is one of many reflections of this outpouring of support is on GoFundMe. Over $500,000 has been raised across the country, across their platform, to support victims, people who lost their lives that were grade A auto parts, others, victims and their families. There have been hundreds that have come together to provide food for the first responders. And we've seen support in ways large and small from all across this community that has been truly heartwarming. And today, we're proud to announce that in partnership with Teddy Abrams and the Louisville Orchestra, we'll be presenting a free tribute concert for the entire community following the tragic loss of UPS Airlines Flight 2976. These past few weeks have been an incredibly difficult time for our entire community, and nobody should have to go through this tragedy alone. To the grade A auto parts family, to the survivors, to their families, to their colleagues, customers, to the heroes who saved other lives and helped them get to safety, to the UPS family, the families of the victims, to our other valued employees of UPS who have bonded together in strength following this tragedy. This concert is an opportunity to bring our entire community together, to show our support for all of you, to pay our respects to those we've lost, to recognize the bravery of our first responders and other heroes, and mourn together as a community, to join together with music, to move forward with strength. This free concert is going to be on Thursday evening and is free to our entire community. We hope everyone joins us. It will take place Thursday, November 20th at 7 p.m. in Whitney Hall at the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. Doors will open at 6 p.m. The concert will start at 7. Again, this is a free concert to hear the Louisville Orchestra perform for everyone. There will also be free parking available that night. We've made the Park Riverfront Garage, located at 141 North 6th Street, just behind the Kentucky Center, free for the evening so that people can enjoy this entire evening for free. I really want to give a giant thanks to Teddy Abrams, Jordan Harris, the board chair, and everyone at the Louisville Orchestra for their gracious offer to have this remembrance concert to support those who are grieving, to bring strength and togetherness to our entire community. And please join me in welcoming Teddy Abrams.
Thank you, Mayor. We are very proud to be able to work with so many partners, of course, Metro government and UPS and so many others that have come together to make this concert possible. It seems like in moments like this, when the community confronts a tragedy and a challenging period, it is incumbent upon all of us, and especially our institutions like an orchestra, to step up and do whatever it is that we can to offer something that helps us heal, that helps us find that communality and the space together where we can both confront the challenges, but also find a certain peace and healing. And of course, music is the language that does that best. And it was an obvious thing that when we see something like what just happened to our community, we reached out and offered our music because it's what we can provide. And I believe that this is a moment for the community to join together in remembrance, memorialization, and tribute to the people that lost their lives. So the concert is a combination of spiritual music, reflective music, contemplative music, but all music that's deeply beautiful at a time when that's a reminder of the strength of our community, the strength of the things that actually bind us and bring us together, and hopefully it begins the healing process in a way that lets us all move forward together and remember the members of our community that lost their lives and the first responders that serve us so graciously. So we're very much looking forward to seeing all of you at the performance. And it's, as I said, a deep, deep honor to be able to offer this music. It's what we can provide at the orchestra, and it's an honor to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teddy. Thank you so much to the Louisville Orchestra. There's more information available on the Louisville Orchestra website. People can register on that website, but it is not required. You can just show up again for this free tribute concert. I look forward to seeing thousands of people from our community there on Thursday evening, and I hope that our friends in the media will help get this message out. We know it's just 2 days away, but given we approach the Thanksgiving holiday and we think about what we're thankful for this year, I think all of us have even more to be thankful for our lives, for our community. And this will be a wonderful way to, as we begin to approach the Thanksgiving and holiday season. So we'd appreciate your help in getting the message out. The others can join me. We're going to give a little bit of update, a couple of other updates as well. This morning, we're joined by UPS Airlines President Bill Moore. Bill and his team have been mourning the loss of their colleagues. They've been working incredibly hard since the moments after this tragic crash. Bill has asked for the opportunity to provide some words this morning to the community and to Bill. I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to the entire UPS family on the tragic loss of life and on the trauma this has caused to so many of our beloved members of our 20,000+ strong UPS family here in Louisville. Please join me in welcoming Bill Moore, President of UPS Airlines.
Well, thank you, Mayor Greenberg, for this opportunity, and thank you all for being here today. I'd also like to especially thank our first responders. Jody, you and your team have been exceptional, as well as Chief Little, the Okolona Fire Department, LAPD, and all the other groups that came out to support this accident. You've been exceptional, and we are extremely grateful. With the NTSB now completing their on-site phase of the investigation, we wanted to share how UPS has responded and how we will continue to respond in the days and months ahead. But first, I want to express how deeply saddened I am, as well as our entire UPS community, about Flight 2976. My words cannot describe how painful it has been over the last 2 weeks. We know it's been exceptionally challenging for this community as well. I can only imagine how challenging it's been for the families of the victims. Our hearts continue to be with all those that are affected. And our thoughts and prayers remain with the families who are grieving, and with everyone whose lives were shaken by what happened. We remain committed to supporting the victims' families, understanding exactly what occurred, and do everything we can to support the NTSB investigation. I want to provide you an update on some of the many things we've been working on since the accident occurred on November 4th. Minutes after we learned about the accident, we activated our airline incident response team, and we assembled in our airline headquarters. We immediately contacted the NTSB to make them aware of the accident and begin to investigate what happened. We deployed our family assistance support team, or our FAST team. This is a group of UPS volunteers who have been trained to support the victims' families. With this team, we've been in direct contact with each of the families, and we've been providing constant updates, emotional support, and including access to grief counseling and mental health resources. We've also provided financial support every step of the way. That includes financing travel, funeral expenses, and meeting the immediate needs of each family. With the support of the NTSB, we also opened up the Family Assistance Center. And this was a place for the victims to come for food, for resources, for financial assistance, really anything they needed in the immediate days after the accident. We launched our GO team. And this is a group of technical experts from within UPS Airlines that have been supporting the NTSB to try and drive towards root cause of what happened and gather the facts as quickly as possible. And at the recommendation of the manufacturer, Boeing in this case, we made the decision to voluntarily ground our entire fleet of MD-11 airplanes so we can ensure that we further inspect the airplanes to make sure they're safe for continued flight. And now to support the families of victims, survivors, and businesses affected, we've opened the Community Resource Center that will continue to assist with additional resources, mental health support, and any financial support that these families and groups may need. I'll just end with this. Our hearts ache for the victims' families, this community, and our employees. And we will continue to support all the needs of impacted by this accident, and we will do everything we can to make this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. There are still many agencies and first responders that are working hard in and around the crash site to restore safety and get folks back to work in their businesses, to reopen roads, and so much more. We're joined this morning by LG&E, by MSD, and our emergency management agency, as well as Okolona Fire Department, to talk about what's going on at the scene right now and some expectations for members of the public, for employees of businesses that have been impacted around the crash site, as well as business owners of those businesses as well. LG&E is one of those organizations that has been working hard around the crash site over the past 2 weeks. They are making progress, but still have more work to do in restoring electricity and gas for certain parts. Here with us this morning is Liz Pratt, Senior Director of Communications and Corporate Responsibility of LG&E, to provide an update on LG&E's work and what they are doing in the days ahead. Liz?
Thank you, Mayor Greenberg, and thank you to all of the responders and local, state, and federal agencies who have remained partners through this response effort. We know it's been an incredibly challenging time for all who were affected, for the surrounding neighborhood and for our community. And through it all, our community has come together and shown an outpouring of support in so many ways. So to start with the work that we've been doing since the crash occurred and what we're currently doing. Directly following the crash, our immediate focus was making the area safe for the emergency responders and for those in the area by de-energizing power lines and disrupting natural gas service. At that time, about 290 electric customers and 94 gas customers were affected. Since then, our focus has remained on keeping the area safe and restoring customer services. During that time, we've been replacing damaged utility poles, repairing electric infrastructure, and are in the process of replacing natural gas infrastructure. Early on, we were able to reroute power when it was safe to do so for some of our affected electric customers. And last weekend, crews replaced broken poles and damaged equipment along Grade Lane to get power restored. Currently, we have about 90 electric customers and those 94 gas customers still affected. As each area of the site has been cleared, and while cleanup efforts continue, our crews, with the support of many employees behind the scenes, have been assessing our equipment and determining what steps must occur. In many cases, that is requiring replacing and repairing equipment. So right now, our focus remains on Grade Lane. This is where our gas crews and business partners are replacing a damaged gas pipeline and service lines that feed from it. This is the pipeline that also delivers gas to the neighboring streets. We anticipate work along Grade Lane may take several weeks. Once that work is complete, our crews will then be able to make the necessary repairs along the side streets. On the electric side, as I mentioned, we were able to restore service power to Grade Lane last weekend. So our crews are now working to get service restored for customers along Melton Avenue over the next several days. Again, as cleanup efforts continue, we'll be shifting to the remaining affected areas. We're also keeping an eye on the forecast and weather that's headed our way, which could affect these timelines as well. We appreciate our customers' continued patience, and we are making every effort to restore service safely and as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. MSD is helping to coordinate several local, state, and federal agencies throughout this entire process. And today, you'll hear that we're proud to announce that 95% of the oil from this incident has been contained. To provide more detail on this, the other work that MSD is working to do to protect our environment, our ground, our water, our air, we're joined by the Executive Director of MSD, Tony Parrott. Tony?
Thank you, Mayor Greenberg. And, as the mayor mentioned, there was a lot of collaborative efforts with local, state, and federal agencies and partners who have worked tirelessly to meet the challenges of this large and complex effort. As the mayor mentioned, about 95% of all the runoff that has entered some of the waterways has been captured. That equates to approximately 880,000 gallons of oily liquids and other runoff that have been removed from waterways in southwest Louisville, including in the northern ditch, the southern ditch, and Pond Creek. One of the things that I think is very important for the community to understand that it's a very complex operation. We currently have 3 locations that catch runoff that are set up with booms and skimmers. Skimmers are mechanical devices that separate oil and other contaminants from the water. At those 3 locations, along a 4.5-mile stretch of Pond Creek, with the closest at the crash site being in a nearby ditch and the farthest being in a portion of Pond Creek near Nick Rodman Legacy Park. We do know that the waterways will be impacted by the weather this week. The current rainfall will help flush some of the runoff to these collection locations. And so when you think about the ongoing operation and obviously the quick action that we took in the very beginning, we're not aware of any runoff that went further down Pond Creek. We have not seen any oil show up at sites that are close to the Salt River, or we haven't seen anything at the Ohio River. During the week of the crash, MSD did put out an advisory asking the community to avoid contact with waters in Pond Creek, the northern ditch and southern ditch, due to potentially contaminated runoff. That advisory is still in effect, and we want folks to avoid contacting waters in any way and keep your pets away from those waterways. However, for clarity, your drinking water is safe unless you have been contacted directly by Louisville Water. If you see oil or debris or discoloration in the waterway, please report that to MSD Customer Relations by calling 502-540-6000 or emailing our customer relations at louisvillemsd.org. And that is our update for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. As Bill mentioned earlier, and we want to continue to encourage people to go to our community resource center that has been set up nearby the airport, and it will continue to provide services to those who are impacted by this incident. We're also joined today by Jody Myman, who's the executive director of our emergency management agencies, who's been working since the seconds following this crash, coordinating efforts and working with all the emergency responders, the first responders, to provide an update on where we are and where we're headed over the weeks ahead. Jody?
Thank you, Mayor. In emergency management, you've heard me talk a lot about it, in the past. We prepare, we respond, we mitigate if possible, and we work through the recovery process. And, in all the disasters we've ever had to work through, the recovery process takes the longest. It is the most challenging for us to get through. So, and that's what we're doing right now. And I want to assure the businesses, I want to assure the public that, there are over 100 people there daily working to get you back in your businesses, to get you back in your location so that you can resume any kind of normalcy that you can. They're working 24 hours a day currently to do that, but they haven't stopped. But again, you've heard behind, the people that have spoken before me that there is challenges that are taking place. The weather today they had to spend yesterday preparing for the weather today so that, conditions do not get worse. So on a daily basis, we're presented with challenges. And while the NTSB has released the site, that doesn't mean that they've released the evidence. And every piece of that aircraft has to be found, collected, and packaged and taken away properly by the contractor that's on site doing that. So, because of that, we've had to create a phased approach with our cleanup and our recovery. We've got 3 phases. We've got phase 1, which is from Don Hudson Boulevard south on Gray Lane. And those businesses have been working. It's not open to the general public, but those businesses have been in their areas working, conducting businesses. Our phase 2 is north of that on Gray Lane. And, with the challenges presented with the amount of oil, with the amount of runoff, with the infrastructure between electric and gas repair that's taking place, that's going to take a little bit longer, and we're working through that to make that our next opening area. And then the phase 3 is on the streets, Melton and Naval and Knopp, those areas that are directly affected by the aircraft itself. So like I said, we are working diligently. There's a lot of people out there that's working very hard. You heard about the Community Resource Center. Please take advantage of that, the public, the community. There's resources there for you. You saw me on my phone just now, and we just got approved. We put an application in over a week ago through Kentucky State Emergency Management for the state business or the Small Business Association to come in, and I just got that approval. So they'll be embedded into our Community Resource Center probably by the end of the week. More to come on that. So that's a big plus. again, for our businesses to come in and get potential resources and advice on what they should do in their future as well. So like I said, just know we'll be giving weekly updates or any other, anything else in between there that may pop up on the site that could cause us problems or cause the public problems. We don't anticipate anything outside of that site taking place that could cause anywhere else to have to be affected. So like I said, we are working hard. The folks behind me and their teams are working very hard. Contractors, there's still public safety agencies that are on site. We still have representatives on site. So we will do that until this is over with and we can get all the businesses back in their locations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jody. All of us and our colleagues will continue to work incredibly hard at this to ensure safety for the future, for the entire community, for those that have been impacted. Our support will not end for those who have lost loved ones, and we will continue to move forward together in partnership and with strength for the whole community. Happy to take a few questions on this now from members of the media.
Jody, when did the NTSB release the scene? And can you give us any timeline as to how long it may take to collect all the evidence and also reopening businesses in Great Lane?
Yeah, the NTSB released the site, again, not the evidence, over this past weekend. The exact time period, I'm not sure, but it was over the last weekend. The time period, they have said before, it could be, over 30 days before a preliminary report, but over a year before a final report. So we're not, expecting anything there. But we are in constant communications with them, and the contractor is as well, that if they find something that it could be of any interest to them in their investigation, they're communicating with them directly. But as far as the time frame, the contractor has made significant progress along with it, but they're starting to get into an area where there's a lot more of the aircraft remains than where they had started out at. So I expect it to be a little bit more of a slow process in the next couple of weeks.
Bill, could you share how you got the news and how you and your UPS family are doing right now?
Yeah, so I received a phone call from our leadership team who was at the airport within 15 minutes after the accident, telling me that what had taken place. And as I mentioned, we immediately made the calls to do what we've been trained for, what we've been planning for, and hoped that this day never came. And we assembled our incident response team at our headquarters and began to run through our checklist. As I mentioned, these last 2 weeks have been incredibly challenging. It's been very difficult, and I can only imagine what the families of the victims have gone through as well. But it's been tough. Just being very candid, it's been very difficult.
Can you tell us what the status is of the grounding and inspection of your MD-11s?
So the grounding still remains in place. As I mentioned, we voluntarily grounded our airplanes at the recommendation of Boeing. The FAA came out with an emergency airworthiness directive the following day, in essence making that law, and that airworthiness directive remains in place. We continue to work daily with the NTSB, Boeing Engineering, our engineers, and FAA on driving to root cause and determining what that is. That's still ongoing. And once we determine that, then they'll be able to develop an inspection plan to figure out, can we go out? Can we inspect it? If so, how do we repair it? How do we put it back together? And then potentially return the fleet to service. But that's not going to happen quickly.
How is the MD-11s being grounded affecting your operations?
We have secured additional lift, if you will, through outside resources to help us make up the capacity difference. We feel good about what we've been able to secure to get us through the end of the year, which is really the line of sight coming up to our busy peak season. So we've also put a lot of more packages on the ground, worked with customers on different commit times and so forth, just as we continue to work through this. But we feel good about where we're going over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Mr. Moore, I have 2 questions. We are 2 weeks out from the crash. Why is this the first time we're hearing from you or a UPS representative?
Yeah. Well, I can assure you we've been exceptionally busy trying to take care of all the things that I briefed you on. And frankly, our first priority was making sure we took care of the victims' families and making sure that they had the resources they needed, financially, mental health-wise, all of those things. We also wanted to be respectful of those families. And it wasn't until I think Thursday of last week when the coroner announced those names. And Friday, the NTSB handed over the site. I think it was Friday to us. So it was just really out of respect for their families, all while we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to take care of these other items.
And how will you make Louisville whole? We spoke to survivors, one who lost his mobile home, another whose minivan was coated in jet fuel. Will you pay for these things?
What I encourage all of those individuals and families and businesses impacted is to go to the Community Resource Center. We have insurance adjusters there. We have resources there. We have all of the things needed that will address their individual needs as best we can for what they require. That's going to be different for every person that comes through that door, but we are committed to making this right.
Just to clarify, you guys paid for all the families' funerals as well, UPS did?
Without getting into specifics, we provided financial assistance in any way, shape, or form that they needed.
And for the mayor and Mr. Moore, the mayor has said that he expects the city to be reimbursed for some of the costs incurred for the emergency response and whatnot. Can you guys detail what that process will look like, what the specific costs that will be reimbursed are, and what the timeline is?
The question was about my previous comment that the city, in terms of reimbursing. So we are gathering all of the expenses that the city had. Oklahoma Fire is doing the same. The other first responder agencies are doing the same as well. And again, this is not going to be an immediate reimbursement. We need to gather those and confirm that they're accurate. And then we've already had initial discussions with UPS about that. And how that may get reimbursed. So I don't have an answer yet for you on the timing or the details of that. I will provide that as it comes about, but right now we're just gathering all of the information to provide that information to UPS, and then we'll continue those conversations and we'll keep you in the loop on how that works.
Do you expect it to be handled privately through insurance?
To be determined. Insurance certainly could play a role in how the reimbursement works, but that, again, that's UPS is looking at all of those things as well right now, and we're working collaboratively on that issue.
I have a question for Mr. Parrott. I understand that the U of L and I think MSD may also be involved in testing wastewater near the crash site. Is that precautionary, or has anyone reported being sick in that area?
Well, what I can tell you is that there is a sampling plan that has been submitted by UPS and approved by US EPA, approved by the Kentucky Energy and Environmental Cabinet, and by MSD. That analysis is still ongoing. And one thing that I can tell you is that we're going to continue the analysis and the assessment and the cleanup of the waterways. And it's probably going to be something that will run well into 2026. But as far as the sampling process, there is a sampling plan, and we're awaiting the feedback on that.
Question for Jody. You mentioned that you just got approval on SBA loans. Can you give us a little, I know you said details will be coming. Can you give us a little bit more information on that? Is that disaster relief, low interest loans?
It could be. I haven't exactly seen the entire document that was sent to me, but it could involve small business loans for individuals. It could, the main thing that, because they've been through this a lot across the country with different disasters, is be able to give the businesses advice on how to move forward. So more to come on that, and we'll share that with the media as soon as we get that out. And also when they'll actually be stationed at the Community Resource Center.
Are there any other federal assistance applications that we still have pending?
No, not currently.
For LG&E, how many people are still affected by the power outage on Nelson Avenue, and how long do you anticipate power getting back on?
So the question was, how many customers are currently affected on Milton Avenue? So I do not have specifically the customer count down to the roads, but we are anticipating getting service restored to our electric customers along Milton Avenue over the next several days. I will say, as I mentioned, we are monitoring the forecast and how that may affect timelines, but regarding electric customers along Milton Avenue, that's the current timeline.
Is there a ballpark estimate that you can give?
In the next several days. So as I mentioned, crews are replacing broken poles, they're replacing damaged equipment. So as we're able to enter areas, that's the type of work they're doing. So they're first assessing damages, determining what needs to take place. And in some cases, that's been replacing damaged and broken equipment.
Just to follow up though, that's just a small piece of it. There's, especially with Melton Avenue, Knopp Avenue, and Able, because, that involves the actual crash site itself. So the electric, while they're doing a great job, that's just a piece. There's gas issues on those roads. There's debris issues on those roads. There's environmental issues on those roads. So, like I said, that's just a box that we're checking, where we can continue to move forward with the other resources that are out there, taking care of those other things.
All right, well, thank you all very much. As Jody mentioned, we'll at a minimum be providing weekly updates on all of these efforts. If there is something more urgent in nature, we will certainly continue to keep the entire community informed as soon as that happens. We thank everyone again for their support, and we encourage everyone throughout the community to join us at Whitney Hall, 7 p.m. on Thursday evening for a free Louisville Orchestra remembrance and tribute concert. Please join us on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. We'll take a 10-second break, and I'll come back with the second half talking about our legislative priorities for Frankfort.
All right, folks, thanks so much for staying with me here. We're going to be switching gears on topics here as the mayor suggested. So let's see what he has to say about the legislative stuff.
You might need this printout agenda. You guys need it? Good.
So today I also want to share our legislative agenda for the upcoming session in the General Assembly. And this agenda for our community is driven by the same purpose that guides our work every day: to build a safer, stronger, and healthier city for every family in every neighborhood. We've built incredibly strong relationships with our partners in Frankfort that we continue to strengthen every day. With Governor Beshear, with President Stivers of the Kentucky State Senate, Speaker Osborne in the House of Representatives, with our local leadership, Senator Julie Rocky Adams, Representative Jason Nemes, Gerald Neal, Pamela Stevens, Tura Herron, and so many others that make up the Jefferson County delegation. And we've seen together what a productive partnership can accomplish for Louisville, for our residents, and for the entire state of Kentucky. If you go back nearly 2 years ago to the last General Assembly session, you'll recall that we secured over $1 billion of investment throughout all of Louisville. $400 million for University of Louisville, $200 million for the fairgrounds, $100 million to invest in downtown, all in the last state budget, and so much more. Thanks to that support, we're breathing new life into downtown, re-energizing our urban core, and restoring pride right here in the heart of our city. And now, 2 years later, we're ready to leverage additional state resources to build on our progress and momentum to fully revitalize downtown Louisville. And that means completing transformational projects like the Community Care Campus, which is already well underway, the Belvedere, LouMed, to create a new downtown fund to restore and fill up vacant historic buildings around downtown Louisville, to help the Humana building with its next chapter in life, and invest in other initiatives that will define downtown's next chapter. An exciting next chapter it will be, thanks to support from the Kentucky General Assembly and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Through our city budget, we also recently had the funds available to secure land in Southwest Louisville for a new first responder training facility where fire, EMS, LMPD, and other law enforcement agencies can train to serve our communities responsibly and effectively. We're now asking the General Assembly to help us put that land to use by building a driving track and other training facilities at this new site. And we're also looking ahead, from transforming Jefferson Memorial Forest in South Louisville into a premier outdoor destination to making Louisville a national leader in sports tourism. We're laying the groundwork for growth that draws visitors, creates jobs, and strengthens our entire region. It has been clear across the state that when you invest in Louisville, that's a great investment in our entire state. There are strong returns for all of the people of Kentucky. But of course, none of that work matters if people don't feel safe in their homes, on the streets, and everywhere else that they go. And I'm proud to say that Louisville Metro government has renewed our commitment to public safety. We're not just enforcing the law, we're preventing violence before it happens. We've strengthened collaboration between the community and law enforcement by expanding violence intervention programs, investing in officer wellness, and enhancing accountability and our training standards. And the results have been positive. Violent crime is trending down over 20% this year alone. That progress is just the start of what we need to continue doing. More residents are engaging with intervention efforts that are making our neighborhoods safer. And the result is fewer shootings and fewer victims. But to keep people safe, we could use some more support from the state. Louisville could use flexibility where we can take local action to address our unique urban violence that we're seeing here in Louisville. This means the ability to implement common sense measures that work for our neighborhoods, like background checks for gun sales, waiting periods for first-time gun buyers, and a state ban on dangerous devices that turn firearms into illegal machine guns. And it means continued investment in local intervention programs that prevent shootings before they happen. Because the best way to prevent violent crime is to stop it before it starts. At the same time, we know that progress can only go so far when people don't have a place to call home. So housing remains a top priority for my administration as we work to break ground on new developments and grow affordable housing all around the community. We've been working closely with the General Assembly on issues of housing over the past 2 years since the last session, and we know that so many members of the General Assembly have been hard at work looking for solutions to help build more housing in Louisville and across the state. And so we hope that this partnership yields great results in the upcoming session, focused on solutions that can help families find and keep housing that they can afford. We're particularly focused on housing here in the urban core, lowering cost barriers for construction, incentivizing affordable housing development, helping local governments build the infrastructure that makes housing possible, helping to strengthen our historic tax credit program that can create more housing in these vacant buildings in and around downtown Louisville. We know that when we invest in housing, we'll reduce homelessness, we'll grow our economy, and we'll set families all across the city and state up for success. Everything that we do comes down to one thing: building a city where families can thrive. And that's why in Louisville, we fight every day to preserve the services and benefits that families rely on most. No parent should have to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. So we're asking lawmakers to protect health care and food assistance so no Kentuckian loses access to basic care or nutrition. It means maintaining Medicaid coverage for the 1 in 3 Kentuckians who depend on it, ensuring families aren't dropped from coverage because of unnecessary red tape, and fully funding food assistance program to fill gaps left by our federal government. It means keeping the light and heat on during extreme weather, because no one's life should depend on a weather forecast. And it importantly means improving access to early learning, supporting Thrive by 5 Louisville, and expanding the Kentucky Child Care Program to public employers. We are fully committed to making sure that parents who want to get back to work can afford to do it. And as importantly, that every 3 and 4-year-old child has the chance to a thriving, successful future, regardless of the circumstances of life they're born into. These are values that reflect who we are as a city and are the priorities that we'll be fighting for in Frankfort during the upcoming General Assembly session. And to keep our city moving, literally, we need transportation systems that connect our people and keep them safe along the way. We're calling for more dedicated funding for TARP, significant roadway improvements inside and particularly outside the Waterson Expressway areas that have been overlooked by our city for far too long. We're also seeking help with automated enforcement tools that help prevent deadly speeding in high-risk areas. Because while transportation and infrastructure rarely make the headlines, it's what helps make all of the other progress in our city possible. It's how workers reach their jobs. It's how kids get to school, and how our city grows stronger block by block. Since the last legislative session, Louisville has shown what's possible when we work together with the entire state, when we work together in a bipartisan fashion, when people who represent rural areas work together with folks who represent urban areas in partnership towards common goals. We're ready to continue partnering with the General Assembly to push for more progress for Louisville and the entire Commonwealth of Kentucky. I believe that the strong relationships that we've created, with the bipartisan success and partnerships that we've created to move Louisville's economy forward, is a true national model. And I'm excited to continue this work going into the next session of the General Assembly. And together, with the support of the leadership and all of the elected members of the General Assembly, we can and will make 2026 another transformative year of impact. Impact for every neighborhood in Louisville, positive impact for the entire state of Kentucky. I look forward to continue to work with my friends and colleagues in the General Assembly to move Louisville, to move Kentucky forward in a new direction, to help all families succeed. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions about our legislative agenda.
Mayor Greenberg, you mentioned stopping crime before it starts. I know there are some Republicans in Metro Council particularly that have talked about the idea of revisiting LMPD's current vehicle pursuit policy. They talk about how they're seeing a rise in car break-ins in their districts and how they believe that allowing LMPD officers to chase people who maybe did not commit a violent felony, which is a current policy, would deter people from breaking into cars or breaking into property. Is that something that you would be willing to consider, to have a conversation on? What are your thoughts on that?
The question that was just asked was about our current pursuit policy and what else can be done to prevent property crimes, break-ins into cars, into homes, and other property crimes. Right now, the pursuit policy that LMPD has, put simply and broadly, is that pursuits happen only when there's a violent crime in progress or to pursue a violent criminal. That's the basic gist of the policy. And that's meant for the safety of our entire community, because there are far too many accidents that have resulted in tragic loss of life as a result of pursuits. And so that's why it's limited to following violent crimes or violent criminals. We're evaluating that. We always are. We're also looking for ways that new technology can help prevent the exact sort of crimes that you're talking about. How we can use our new drone program to help apprehend individuals that are breaking into cars and homes. How we can use our flock cameras and our real-time crime center to prevent or apprehend individuals that are doing the same. So yes, we're looking at the policy, but again, public safety in its broadest sense is always our top priority. And so all of that needs to be considered. But I've heard these voices. The chief and I have spoke about it over the past couple of days, and we'll continue those conversations moving forward, always with a focus on public safety, how we can provide more effective services, how we can use new technology to improve safety in Louisville.
Mayor, in 2024, the legislature gave you essentially, or gave the city, $20 million for the community care campus and $20 million for the Belvedere. Is that correct?
No, the question was about the legislature in 2024. The legislature in 2024 provided a $100 million pool of capital for up to 6 downtown projects, of which the community care campus and the Belvedere were 2 of those 6. But those were not numbers that were specified for the General Assembly. The discretion was left to me here locally.
Are you going to have any explanation for them, for you asking for funding for those same 2 projects again?
Again, here is the explanation. The question was about the explanation for those projects. We need to continue to fund those projects so that we can complete them. That was always part of the long-term plan. The community care campus, as you know, is under construction right now. There's a temporary family shelter that has been opened. Construction is underway, and there's more that's planned. There's additional city and private philanthropic funding that has been made available over the past 2 years, including $250,000 that we just announced this morning, a new gift from JP Morgan Chase towards Volunteers of America, and services that are going to be provided on that as well. The Belvedere is a significantly larger project that even state funding will provide. There's also city funding right now in an appropriations bill pending in Washington, D.C. There's some funding pending for the Belvedere. We're beginning our effort to get philanthropic funds towards that as well. Just like LUMED has a multi-phased approach towards continuing to revitalize that entire district. So some of these projects are intended to be funded over years. Some of them are phased projects. We're making tremendous progress. We've been using the funds that we were allocated in 2024 wisely to advance those projects. I believe the General Assembly has seen the progress that's been made, the progress here throughout all of downtown Louisville, even besides those projects that were mentioned. We're also asking for funding for some new projects in downtown as well this year, like helping out with the next chapter of the Humana building. So all of that is towards downtown revitalization.
We already know from both Republicans and the governor that this is going to be a difficult budget year. How much are you asking for from the state? Is it another $100 million? Have you had conversations if there's room in the budget? I mean, you also referenced federal cuts in here, so there's a lot of holes to fill.
Referenced what? I'm sorry.
Federal cuts in here too, to Medicaid and food assistance. So there's a lot of holes to fill.
So the question was, how much are we requesting? And the answer is as much as possible. There's a lot of need even beyond what's listed on this agenda. And we're working with other nonprofit organizations and other projects that are also requesting funding from the state, many of which we support. For example, our partners and friends at University of Louisville have their own request as well, that we firmly support their efforts as well. So I'm hoping that together, hundreds of millions of dollars will once again be invested across our entire city in important projects that further our goals of making Louisville safer, stronger, and healthier.
Mayor, I have a question for a colleague about SNAP, if you can. Can you share about what you're hearing from SNAP recipients in Louisville? Are they now seeing their payments come through their EBT cards and accounts?
So the question was about SNAP benefits, and my understanding is that that was just turned back on. And so I've not gotten an update since that occurred, but we can get back to you on that, and I'll ask some of my colleagues in the Office of Social Services that deals with SNAP recipients on a daily basis. I have not directly heard from any over the past day or two, but we can get back to you on that to make sure it's working properly. My understanding is that it is, but I want to get back to you on that.
Mayor, on the issue of autonomy, background checks, waiting periods, so it's not the first time you've asked the legislature to look at this. Are you getting any indication from Republican leadership that they're willing to entertain these again, especially during the budget year?
No, the question was about some of our initiatives that we're working to help make Louisville safer, that deal with firearms. And I think it's important to continue to keep these issues alive. We know that there are far too many illegal guns on the street in the wrong hands that are committing crimes, that are killing people, that are harming people. And so I'm going to continue to keep this on my agenda as long as I'm mayor of Louisville. I do believe that we're making progress on certain areas. For example, the Glock switches, which can convert a typical firearm into an illegal machine gun. Chief Humphrey recently was in Frankfurt testifying at a hearing. I took that as a positive step forward, that there's a willingness to look at some issues. Any step forward that we can make to take more illegal guns off the streets will save lives in Louisville and around Kentucky, and I'm going to continue supporting it and advocating for those changes.
There was a lot of conversation earlier this year about expediting the reopening of the Youth Transitional Services building. Is that going to be a part of your priority to try to help get more money to get that building open quicker ahead of the 2027 year that it's supposed to reopen?
So the question was about reopening of the juvenile detention facility downtown. And that project has been transferred from the city's ownership to the state. It is under construction right now. If you drive by it, everyone, the governor, the General Assembly, myself, everyone that I know is aligned that we want that facility to open as quickly as possible. It's under construction now. Funding has been provided. I know that the folks that are managing that from the state are working to manage that as effectively and as quickly as possible. I don't believe you'll see any legislation about that. I don't believe any legislation right now is needed because the funding is there to complete the project. But again, my understanding is that they're always looking at ways to see if they can speed up the process on that. I'll defer to them. I've been told what the timeline is for that project, but I'll let them give the answer since they're the project managers on that.
In reference to creating a permanent funding stream for TARC from the state, that comes as TARC looks to implement a downsized transit network next year. How does that change and the cuts in routes factor into this ask?
Sure. The question was about our request for state funding for TARC, the recent decrease in TARC services. We need state funding so that we can expand from where TARC is today. We have done a tremendous job over the past couple of years under new leadership at TARC of improving on-time percentages for buses, improving the cleanliness, improving the safety and reliability of TARC system for those who use TARC. Now we want to build on that. We want to build on that from where it is to serve more JCPS schools, to serve more parts of our community. To do that will require some additional funding. We haven't changed the way we funded TARC here in the city since 1974. And so with some state funding, we can help expand the TARC footprint, the TARC routing system. And that's why we're asking for funding from the state.
On the topic of social services, are there any fee provisions that you have to try to expand? I know TARC is in the conversation, but is there anything else that you're looking at in the future?
Within the area of social services?
Yes.
Within the area of social services, we're looking to prevent cuts from being made, prevent cuts to Medicaid, to prevent cuts to food, nutrition, and assistance that's provided, to support families, to make sure that there's funds available for the low-income heating and electricity support program, to protect residents from having their gas or their water or their electricity turned off during extreme weather events. Those are our focuses in the area of social services.
I noticed under your banner, Invest in Early Learning, you talk about the Thrive by 5 initiative. I noticed that there's not a mention of universal pre-K, which has been one of the governor's main initiatives. I think I've seen you sign on to some of his letters about that. Is that also part of your agenda?
Yes, I'm supportive of Governor Beshear's initiatives on early learning education for all 4-year-olds across the entire state. Here in Louisville, we are very supportive of that. Thrive by 5 Louisville is focused on more early learning opportunities for 3- and 4-year-old children. And there's several ways that we can do that. One is through Thrive by 5, and so we're asking for some more funding from the state for that. They provided funding last time, and we hope that continues as well. There's also a tax incentive program for employers and their employees that provides incentives to help lower the cost of childcare for employees. Right now, that program does not apply to public workers. So any Louisville Metro government employee, for example, cannot take benefit of that. We want to expand that program so that public service workers like those at Louisville Metro government can take advantage of that program, be another incentive to help get people to work for Louisville Metro government and get more kids into quality child care opportunities throughout the entire city and state for that matter. Anything else? Eddie? No? Anything else? All right. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right, folks, thanks so much for staying with me here on the stream. Okay, the mayor talked about 2 separate things, the UPS plane crash, and then he also talked about the legislative agenda, but I want to focus on the UPS plane crash right now. So a lot of things discussed. This is the first time we heard from Bill Moore, who is the president of the UPS Airlines, and he had talked about how difficult the past 2 weeks have been. He said that the NTSB released the site this past weekend, and also ways that they have been responding. So they said that they are committed to supporting the victims' families. Minutes after finding out about the crash, they assembled their airline incident response team. They deployed their family assistance response team and their financial support for each and every family impacted by this horrible tragedy. They also have voluntarily recalled or voluntarily grounded, the MD-11 aircraft. They opened that community resource center. They're doing what they can to make this right for people. Of course, we know that lives will never be the same. At the scene right now, LG&E is working around the clock. Their immediate focus is making the area safe and de-energize the power and the gas. They're replacing damaged utility poles, restoring the gas there as well. So 90 households are still out with electric and 94 are out with gas. Their focus is on Grade Lane for LG&E, fixing the damaged gas lines, and also that may take several weeks. So customers on Melton Avenue, that's also a focus for them, but the weather that we had today and the rain that we have in the forecast the rest of the week is going to be impacting things as well. MSD said that 95% of the oil has been contained. They gathered about 880,000 gallons of that leakage, I guess, that went into the waterways. But they say the rain that we are going to get in the forecast today and the rest of the week should help. Drinking water is safe unless you have been contacted by Louisville Water. So a lot that was discussed today. Wave News reporter David Mattingly is going to break it all down for us. And of course, we will have the very latest on our website, wave3.com. I also do not want to forget mentioning one of the things they first talked about was the partnership the city is having with the Louisville Orchestra. There's going to be a free tribute concert that's going to be Thursday evening, November 20th at 7 o'clock at the Whitney Hall at the Kentucky Center for Performing Arts. This is a free concert and a way to honor and remember the lives lost and a way of healing in our community. Parking is going to be free as well at the garage attached to the Kentucky Center. So, of course, lots that was discussed today. We'll have much more and break it all down for you here on Wave. Thanks so much for joining me and staying with me. Have a great day.